Now we're going to take a look at the third pattern of inference from predicate logic, which starts all A's are B's, as the A's are all contained within the B circle. All B's are C's. Well, that means we're going to have to make a circle around the B's. And what can we conclude from that? All A's are C's. All A's are B's, all A's are B's, B's are C's, therefore all A's are C's. Now let's turn to hypothetical syllogism, the analogous if-then valid pattern in propositional logic, which tells us if P then Q. In other words, all cases in which P is true, that whole circle is contained within the circle of all cases in which Q is true. If Q then R tells us that everything that's in that circle of Q things it also has to be in that circle with the larger circle with R things. Therefore, anything that's anything that's a P as a P has to be an R as well. Okay, let's now turn to an example of this. Hypothetical syllogism, if P then Q, all cases in which P is true, Q is true. If Q then R, the R goes around the circle of R's is larger than the circle of Q's. Therefore, if P then R. And let's get an example of this. If Rover is a dog, then Rover is a mammal. If P then Q. If Rover is a mammal, if Q, Rover is a mammal, then Rover is warm-blooded. Therefore, if P, then R. If Rover is a dog, then Rover is warm-blooded. Now let's quickly just review how we're going to figure all of these out. And I think the easiest thing is to focus on the president is in Washington and in the White House, and I should be consistent in the way I spell president. It should have a capital all along. But if we take a look at modus ponens, if P then Q, P therefore Q. If the president is in the White House, then the president's in Washington, D.C. And if we know the second premise that the president is in the White House, we certainly can conclude that the president is Washington, D.C. And notice we can conclude this without making any assumptions about the truth value of the individual premises. That is, it just says there is a strong connection between premises like this and a conclusion like this based on what if then is and based on what not is in certain cases. If you look at modus tollens, if P then Q, not Q, therefore not P. If the president's in the White House, that is, he's in the P's, then the president's in Washington, D.C., he's in the Q's. Well, the president is not in Washington, D.C. In other words, the Q is not the case, it's red, it's false. Therefore, the P, that is the president is in the White House, is very low, and we get a diagram like that. And for a hypothetical syllogism, we get if the president is in Washington, D.C., is in the White House, then he's in Washington, D.C. If the president's in Washington, D.C., then the president is in the United States. Therefore, if the president of the United States is in the White House, then the president is in the United States. good, valid pattern of inference. And just to summarize once more, we have the predicate patterns on the left and the propositional patterns on the right. And if you look at them, you can stare at them for a while, you will find that they are, as they sink or swim together.